A popular topic when we did a call for mailbag questions was the 2022 quarterback battle. Cade McNamara, the Big Ten Championship College Football Playoff quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, the five-star superstar, who will be entering his sophomore year in 2022. Let me know who you guys think will be the starting quarterback for the opener, all right, for the opening game of the year. I think a lot of people will say, well, maybe it's Cade and then J.J. wins it out. But I want to know for the opener, first game of the year. Type Cade. Type JJ. I'm going to kind of put this question right below the video as the pinned comment, so just reply there. And I'll take a little pulse check of the Michigan Football Report audience. We're going to take your questions here in the show coming up right now. 19,000 and almost 200 of you have subscribed to the channel, so make sure you, thank you to those of you who have, and if you haven't and you're pumped that the 2022 season is only like 7 months away, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports, putting out about 4 or 5 videos per week so far in this 2022 offseason. All right, the word around Michigan football is still everything is focused on Jim Harbaugh, but I thought I'd take some questions that not all of them are focused on Harbaugh. Of course, though, some are coming up here. Come up to our Facebook page. Ryan Dempsey says, who will be the starting quarterback next season? I will still subscribe to the theory that Cade McNamara probably deserves and will get the opportunity to continue to be Michigan's starting quarterback, at least to start the year. But this offense coming into 2022 is going to have to be more dynamic, more explosive than a very explosive offense was the last half of the Big Ten season in 2022. The first half of the year, I think that offense wasn't very explosive at all, but we all remember the Iowa game, the Ohio State game, and some others, Indiana, Maryland, where the offense just exploded with big play after big play after big play. So I think Cade McNamara will get the start, and if he wins, right, Michigan's got a very soft schedule in 2022. If he continues to win, I think J.J. McCarthy will get more snaps, but Cade should get the start to start the year, and if the offense is humming, he probably remains your starting quarterback for one more season. Chris Hamilton, he's got to have the Harbaugh questions, and that's fine. He says, I hope he stays. Harbaugh knows perfectly well there are certain things in life you cannot compensate for with money. Michigan, Ohio State, the rivalry is one of them. 42-27, big-time score there, a score that I think a lot of us will never forget. Go Blue. This is just the beginning, is what he says based on Jim Harbaugh saying that multiple times. Iowa game, Ohio State game, the college football playoff game, right? Even in a losing effort, this is just the beginning. Jim Harbaugh said it many times, and I'm really concerned. I'm not concerned. I'm kind of confused about what the interest is in the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, I think maybe his wife liked living there when she was in her 20s, early 30s, and maybe that's the draw on the allure. Maybe he likes living on the West Coast. Maybe he wants to be out of the cold weather. I'm not really sure. So, in my opinion, and we're going to publish this on Sunday. We're filming this late in the day on Friday, but we're going to publish it on most likely Sunday, maybe Saturday. Unless something happens before then, it sounds like Jim Harbaugh is going to come down to Michigan, and the only team he's considering in the NFL anymore is the Raiders. But I think Jim Harbaugh would be, it'd be foolish for him to leave right now. I think he should give it another 2 or 3 year run to see if he can kind of capitalize off this momentum. Next question comes from Clay Stokes on our Facebook page. How much does Michigan defense fall off in 2022 with the departures for the NFL? Well, considerable. And this is surprising. Some of these are surprising because there was a chance that Michigan could have brought back as many as 9 stars on this defense. But now it's a very decimated defense. You're going to have to rely on a lot of new faces around the program. So let's take a look at the 6 defensive departures we've got. The guys who left early for the NFL, and the early is kind of a skewed number for 1 or 2 of these guys because they got the extra added bonus of the COVID year 2020 not counting against eligibility. But Aiden Hutchinson does count. He had a couple years left of eligibility. Technically, he was 4 years at Michigan, had a redshirt year in 2020 with injury. David Ojabo really actually left 3 years in the table because he was a 3-year player, redshirt 1 year, COVID year didn't count, so he left 3 years of eligibility. Daxton Hill left 2 years of eligibility on the table. Then Josh Ross. Been on for 5 years, been a contributing player for 5 years, but got hurt in the 3rd game of the 2019 season, came back for the bowl game, so only played in 4 years. So technically could have got a red shirt for that. If he wanted to come back for 2022 for a 6-year, he could. Vincent Gray, 4-year guy, left 2 years of eligibility on the table. Chris Hinton, right? 3rd-year guy, left 2 years of eligibility on the table. He did play in 2019, 2020, and 2021. 2020 and 21, he was a starter. So this offense must carry the defense next year, right? I think this offense must be elite, and they've got the playmakers, they've got the players returning. I think the cohesiveness. You got 2 quarterbacks you can trust. You got 2 running backs you can trust. I actually think you got 5 to 6 wide receivers that you can trust. I think Michigan really still needs to have one guy break out as the leader, whether it's Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, or Andrell Anthony. We saw what he did in 1 or 2 games, Michigan State most notably. But this offense must be elite because you've only got one starter, Mozzie Smith, returning on the defensive line. You've got one starter in Junior Colson returning in the linebackers group, and then you only have one starter now in the secondary returning as well with DJ Turner. So 3 starters returning, 8 starters departing for the NFL, 6 of them giving up their eligibility and heading out. So it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of Michigan fans. But I want to know from you guys, all right? I live in Dallas, Texas. That's where the Chat Sports palatial studios are, and it's cold as hell lately, and that's not typical for Dallas. It was 80 degrees on like Christmas Day. It's been like 20 degrees out lately, right? The last week and a half, 2 weeks, and it's yesterday and today were the worst. It's like 22 all day. What's the temperature outside? I am not used to. I haven't lived in the cold in like 15 years. I'm not used to the cold weather, and sometimes it's like every other year. Dallas. One year it's really cold. One year it's kind of mild, but it's really cold this year. So what's the temperature outside for you guys right now? I just want to get a little pulse of who's dealing with the best and the worst weather of all of this show's audience. And thanks so much to everyone who watches this show here on YouTube. But we've got a pretty popular Facebook page with 67,000 subscribers. I think it's our followers. It's a lot easier to build a following on Facebook. You just post a meme or a GIF every time. You get a couple hundred followers. But we're taking a lot of these questions from our Facebook page. So if you haven't yet followed us, the website is facebook.com. That obviously then just type in Harbaugh Go Blue. We try to make it easy for you guys, or just search Michigan Wolverines by Chat Sports, and we have 67,000 people that follow the page. I'll put the link down in the comments and in the description. My guy from Facebook here, Jose Santiago, says, do you think if Jim Harbaugh stays, that means Michigan's administration is all in wanting to change their approach on recruiting, transfer portal, and name, image, and likeness? No, because Harbaugh clearly has seen that he can at least win, this year and be really close in 2016, 2018 without having all that stuff. But I think he really needs to emphasize it, and they need to be a little more aggressive. So all in, I think Harbaugh would stay if they weren't all in. But if at least he didn't think that, hey, we're trying to operate like the Ivy League or something like that, where you're just completely at a disadvantage. Ivy League has no athletic scholarships, et cetera, et cetera. I think Michigan will eventually get there on name, image, and likeness. Recruiting, I think they're pretty good. They're up there, right? And that shouldn't be a problem with getting more money, whatever Harbaugh's looking for, more staff. The transfer portal, that's one of the bigger ones, is because I mentioned it a few times. Players transferring in who are undergrads are losing as much as half of their credit. Shea Patterson came in. He was almost like starting in his second semester after 2 years, 4 semesters at Ole Miss. They didn't take really many of his credits. Why is that? Well, Michigan has this thought that if you are going to have a Michigan degree, they don't want you just to go to your last 3 semesters there. They don't want to go there. They want majority, like 70% of your credits have to come from Michigan. So that's why you transfer in. Oh, this doesn't count. This doesn't count. It is what it is as of right now, but I think they should maybe loosen that a little bit. If not just for athletes, I think we should consider it. So let me know what you guys think. Should Michigan loosen academic standards for transfers, and this whole must-have 75% of your credits come from Michigan? And maybe that's just for athletes. I don't necessarily think it has to be for all students, but athletes are a little bit different. And with the transfer portal being almost a free agency, no sitting out anymore, I think Michigan really has to step up their game and realize that this isn't, the 1980s, 1970s, 2000s. This is 2022, and you could have the best player in college football switch from Oklahoma to Michigan in a matter of that, and he could be on your roster playing the next day. And if he can't, if he thinks that he's getting jobbed on his academic credits, which maybe doesn't make a difference to some people, I think that'll be a problem. So type yes if they should, or type Y if they should, type N if they should, and want to hear what you guys think. And if you graduated from Michigan, let me know, if that's the case, you want to protect the integrity of your degree. William Troy Pierce on Facebook said, "What odds are you giving Jim Harbaugh staying or leaving?" All right, film this Friday evening. Go over the weekend, so this might be a video we just have to scrap if Harbaugh decides to re-sign with Michigan Saturday morning. But I'm putting it like 51-49, 51 being Michigan, 49 being the NFL. This thing's gone on nearly 3 weeks so far, and Harbaugh has been very adamant about stomping it out if there's rumors that he thinks are untrue, and he hasn't done that so far. And many people, myself included, who have had one or kind of a connection to Harbaugh in some way, somebody knows him, etc. The NFL agent game it's pretty much universal that Harbaugh is strongly considering going to the NFL, and it seems like it's down to Michigan and the Raiders as the only NFL choice. If they give him full autonomy, right, he can name his GM, he could have player control, he could have control of the draft, all that stuff. Maybe that's the case. That's what's going to get him going back to the NFL and being the head coach there. Now, one interesting thing that I would consider is that's a tough division if Harbaugh's going to go back to, because he went to the 49ers, right? And this is before they got Russell Wilson in his division. But you'd have a division with Justin Herbert, one of the top 3-4 quarterbacks under 25, 26 years old. You have Patrick Mahomes, and what do you think, Peterson? Broncos, they're going to get to like Aaron Rodgers they could get. I don't know. Who knows? Aaron Rodgers want. But if the Broncos get a quarterback, that becomes one of the better quarterback divisions in the NFL. And it's not necessarily one that I think he can come in just day one, dominate like he did in the NFC West with the 49ers. Brian Curtis, question up. Can we beat that team down south in Columbus finally this year? It's going to be an effort, a gargantuan one. It's going to take a year long of game planning and everything that goes in with that, because Michigan doesn't have the top end talent, the senior laden, the older talent that they did in 2022 that they did in 2021. And Ohio State's bringing back a ton of talent, especially on offense. They might have the best quarterback, or they might have one of the best 2 or 3 quarterbacks, best 2 or 3 running backs, best 1 or 2 wide receivers in all of college football next year on offense to go along with a really strong offensive line. Their defense will struggle a little bit. New defensive coordinator there, so Michigan's going to have to match them a little more in points because Michigan won't have the horses on defense to shut them down like they did in Ann Arbor. But as always, folks, it's beat Ohio State again, and that's now past tense and it's future tense. I know it's always been kind of past tense, but it's right past tense. It's this year, or 2021, 6-7 weeks ago, Michigan beat Ohio State, and I'm not ready to give that up. So it's beat Ohio State. It's BOSA again and again and again. Michigan really needs to, they can't go on a stretch where they lose 2, 3, 4 in a row, because then we're just kind of back in the same position where it's like, oh gosh, are we going to ever beat these guys again? So it would be monumental if Harbaugh gets that win down there in 2022. We will see what happens. If it's cold out, if it's 27 degrees and snowing, guaranteed Michigan wins, because Coleridge Stroud is a complete schmuck. He is afraid of the cold. That's probably why he's going to not end up working out in the NFL. So we'll see what happens then. Root for cold weather in Columbus next November. All right, we will be back on Monday with the latest on Jim Harbaugh, Michigan football rumors, and if there's nothing really big going on, also taking a look at the depth chart for spring practice. Until then, folks, go Blue.